good day, good afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. Hey y'all, this is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Just a short episode. You ever wonder how things go in life? You know, you see two things and on the surface they might be unrelated, but if you really look into it, they're related. Anyhow, as I said before, this is You're Probably Right podcast. I am your host, MCM. This isn't a Christian podcast, but it is a podcast by a Christian. Therefore, it is a podcast that is a Christian podcast. But I don't profess in the way that most would, because I don't pull out scripture. Sometimes I don't even mention scripture. But generally, I have a Christian point of view and belief systems. Even if I do personally get it wrong, I believe what the Bible says. It's just sometimes maybe I don't articulate it the best. That's why I don't profess to be a professor of anything except for a professing Christian, and I am not a professor of anything, and I do not have a master's or a doctorate. Anyhow, and I guess that makes it clear enough that, I barely know what I'm talking about. And that's if you actually agree, but at the same time, you might disagree, and therefore you would be probably right. Maybe I should call it that. You would be instead of you're probably right. Anyhow, so things in life, sometimes they seem like they're connected, not connected. Like, you wonder about why people want you to stop raising cow and selling beef, and there's different reasons why, and then somehow making, I guess in this case it looks like it's related, but they talk about the gases that are released from these cows, or the fact that the things that they use to kill the pests and stuff like that kill the pesticide. I get not even the pesticide, but I know that there's something that they use besides pesticide that helps with being able to raise crop or grow crop. They don't want them to use that either, and it's causing a lot of problems. A lot of the things are costing the taxpayer and the regular Joe Schmo at home a lot more money than they normally would. I mean, I remember, when the government, the powers that be, whoever, said that during COVID, because of the sickness or illness on a certain barge or something like that, that because exactly where they decided that the people who had that certain disease, the spot where they decided that these people needed to get off or they needed to quarantine their boat happened to be right smack dab in the middle, where it would make it make the boat unable to be passed, and therefore clog up the supply chain for North America and all around the world, somewhere out of the Panama Canal, whatever it was. But all I know is somehow where they Panama, but where they decided to I guess there's no way people just all of a sudden started coughing, and maybe if a boat takes 15 or 17 people to run properly on any long extended voyage or whatever it takes, I really have no clue. But that's the day, or that's the second, when they said, you know what, we're gonna have to park the boat here because everybody has fallen ill with this cough or this flu so badly at the same time that we couldn't go down to 13 people trying to steer the boat out of the way of wherever. We just have to stop it smack dab in the middle of where the supply chain is, so therefore no other boats can get through. whatever. It's a barge. I don't know what it was, but it was huge enough to literally stop the flow of boat traffic in and out of that canal or whatever it was. Strange, right? Or, I mean, at least you could say, yeah, I don't know. But just the stuff that they say and that we believe. And then what happened after that, all of the prices for all of the groceries and pretty much everything else, all the stuff, the produce that we would generally get from those countries, all of a sudden they couldn't get in at that time. So therefore, when we did actually get them, and they kept showing on, the different stations in Toronto here, like CBC and CTV and stuff like that, started showing us that the shelves in the grocery stores were short because of the supply chain, and because the supply chain was down because the people who were responsible for packing ships and producing stuff were held back by this boat stuck in the middle of nowhere, or the mainware, I guess, because that's just nuts. And then I was thinking, another thing, and just weird things. Have you ever thought, and this is what this podcast is about, oddly enough, it's just about you maybe talking to someone maybe two of you are actually listening to this podcast, but it can spark interesting conversation. Maybe even if it's a group of you, like 10, 11 people, or it's just 3 of you, or just you and your spouse or your friend. But do you think that they created I can't say they created the use. They outlawed the use of plastic straws for paper straws instead by a certain date, and also just after they legalized marijuana in most places. Do you think that was a coincidence? Anybody who's ever used that would probably know that it takes some skill to do certain things with that stuff. And if you can bypass by maybe organic straws, or like, you know what I mean? I can just imagine. And you buy, a little carton of straws that costs you about $2. And then else. I just, sometimes I really wonder how things are connected or not connected. Just like, I've been watching, and sadly I'm going to have to date this particular podcast, but I guess it's okay. Because right now the date of this podcast is taking place on Wednesday, October 30th, 2024, 1 week away from the elections in the United States. And the main 2 front runners are Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump. I have a feeling that he's probably going to win. And this is just beforehand, whatever happens. But he stopped being hard on Joe. Now he, when he refers to Joe, because I guess he's realized it's bad politics, or maybe he's just a man enough to know that to kick somebody when they're down, when they're done and you finish and you beat them, just doesn't make any sense. And you're probably at the same time inviting violence from that particular individual more than they could probably ever, if you understand. I know that when people think that when you kick someone when they're down, they pretty much curl up and die, but I know there's also that last effort that could get you. So you're better off at the same time, even though you should be showing mercy, which is always a good thing to show mercy, but also think that when you kick someone when they're down, be careful, because that's sometimes at somebody's really strongest moment, when they have nothing left and they're as low as they could possibly go. So many people have actually said that, that when you're down, you hit rock bottom, something happens and you get up. And I think usually it's something that's trying to finish you, or someone who tries to actually pull you up right at that moment. Anyhow, I just wanted to ramble on. It's a really, really quick episode. I do have another episode that I actually wanted to go with, but let's see if I should get into it at all. Where is it? Where is it? Let's see. How well can I? So I hope everybody out there is cool. I hope everything is great. I hope everything worked out with this selection. Since I'm doing it beforehand. Yeah. I had some questions. Let's see if I can find. Community. Do. All right. You know what? Maybe I'll get into it. But it's gonna be a really quick episode, yo. Now, I just had some questions. Well, I guess I wanted to say, I was thinking about the 10. Let's see, the 10 top 10s are kind of cool. 10 reasons to think that a partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse is not in it for the long haul. And I was wondering if there's any actual peer-reviewed information on that. But who knows for real? But let me just give you 10 reasons that the person may not be in it for the long haul. I'm sure you know what that means. If you don't know what that means, then you probably shouldn't be listening. Anyhow, number 1, I would say expressions of contempt or criticism. Now, when you realize that the person doesn't really want to be nice or play nice at all, and every single thing that you do, there's a criticism for it, and just the expressions of that contempt or that criticism, where it's like you can tell that you're being in their mind debased as much as you could possibly be debased. I know a lot of people think, and sadly it's a lot of women, when their husbands tell them stuff like, for instance, I think the dress looks good, but maybe it's a little bit short, or the jeans do look good on you and shape looks good and blah 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 blah, but the jeans are just too tight and too revealing, or the shirt is too low cut. It's a constant struggle, and that's why I think a lot of time guys should stop at some point. But if you've said something, let it be, because I realize that what ends up happening is a circle. There's you say this, they complain. You say this, they say you always say that. Usually they say that you're always on top and blah 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 blah, and they'll use that as a criticism or contempt to say, you're thinking of going, and therefore I think you're going, so therefore I'm gonna start treating you like mud, when really all it is maybe you just wanted some modesty in your situation. But anyways, don't believe me, but I would say that would be the first one. And if you wanted to reference something like that, there's a book by Gottman, J.M. Gottman, and it's written in 1994. It's called What Predicts Divorce. Anyhow, that's their little that's a review, a peer review, I guess you can check out. But I guess that'd be a good way to reference that whole concept. Second reason, top reason. So we're already at the best one, top 10. This is number 1 I gave you. Now I'm going to give you number 2. Stonewalling. Okay, emotional withdrawal or stonewalling. Stonewalling, or complete emotional withdrawal from interaction, is a strong indicator of disengagement and predicts a relationship breakdown. And usually what that is is a person will just don't care. um you'll have the people who you're in a relationship with, and you say they ask you to do something, or you ask them to do something, and it's like, sure, okay, I'll do it. Yeah, no big deal. Whereas before, the person would complain and go on, and then all of a sudden they like turn into what's it called, like autopilot. If you ever seen the movie Click, they just do it, no emotion, totally withdrawn. If you like, sadly, if you asked, probably ask for a kiss, the person would just kind of stay there, like if they were just a book, like just nothing. And depending on how aggravated or done they are with you is how obvious this will be. And I guess you could probably reference the same book. Number 3, predictor. When a person is just not in it for the long haul. That sounded weird. The long haul. Anyhow. Number 3, persistent unresolved conflicts. I hope it's not going to be mistaken with, but when maybe something happened and the person just keeps on bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back, and it never settles. Like maybe a car accident happened because you told the person never to pull out their cell phone, and a car accident happened as a result of that, and you go on with a like, I'll never forgive you type of attitude for years and years and years and years. And loving life, proper relationship doesn't last in that kind of a situation. At some point there has to be room for you to forgive other people. You can't just hold things forever, Yeah. All right, let's see. I did something just now. Okay, here, hold on there. And let me just make this. All right. Infidelity or trust issues. Acts of infidelity and breaches of trust are strong predictors of relationship dissolve. Because at the end of the day, you cheat on somebody, or you have trust issues. Infidelity will usually that's just a make or break for a lot of people. Once you go step out of the relationship for whatever reason, they're done with you, right? Whereas there's some who will just keep taking you back, or there's the trust issues where you'd figure the person just doesn't trust you, they bounce. But usually what it is you don't trust the person, you don't trust the person. Eventually say, you know what, I'm tired of you not trusting me, blah 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 blah. And it starts to make you look like a weak, sad little man if you're the guy. And eventually the person will just get tired of you, and they'll look for a real person, a real stand-up person who doesn't seem to have that whimperish type of flaw, where you're wondering and worried. And so I guess not strong in yourself to believe that you're worth coming back to. So therefore the person that you're with should be looking elsewhere. And they're eventually, many times they do, even if they never admit it. 5, avoidance of communication. Yeah, obviously you're in a relationship and the person never wants to talk to you, or they say you get up at 5 in the morning, and usually they'd get up with you. Maybe they stop getting up with you, or maybe you leave for work, or a half an hour early or something like that, and that other person pretends to be asleep, even though you've made obviously too much noise in the bedroom. For whatever reason, they're magically able to stay asleep, even though you know that they're a very light sleeper. And then they get up when you're gone, and then they're home, and then you come home, so you take your sweet old time and you make up different stuff for you to have to do so that you don't have to talk to them, or you always find yourself busy on the phone when they're around at home, and all that kinds of different stuff that can happen. And that's usually when people, they avoid calling you back, or they say that they're too busy to call you, um or whatever it is. And avoidance of communication is a big tell again. 6, a lack of emotional support. You go through a whole bunch of stuff and it's a bad time, and they just don't care. I remember I had a death in the family, and I had, there's always some people who will hang on and want to feel the moment with you, and then there's the people who try to just be a part of something for the sake of saying that they were a part of something, but there's no actual emotional support. They're just kind of there. You realize that the person's not really in it for the long haul. That's life. There's not much you can do. A partner who consistently fails to provoke emotion or emotional support may be less invested in the relationship, leading to a decreased satisfaction and commitment. They'll look elsewhere again. Number 7, minimal investment of time and effort. So in the situation, maybe you have a couple and they're going through the motions, and if something doesn't change, then they probably will stray, where you have a situation where it's like low levels of time and effort invested in relationship can reflect a lack of commitment and predict decrease in relationship satisfaction. So you might have a time where you would eat breakfast together, and you still eat breakfast, but now he's on his phone, or you're both on your phone now. You pray at night with your spouse, read a book or whatever it is, and now you've noticed that you've just started to, or they've just started to go through the motions and not really care. It's almost like you're just checking boxes, or hitting the buttons that are necessary for you to fall asleep even. But at the same time, you're just doing it because it's something that you do, not because you care, not because you love, not because you are putting in your whole effort, then that's another predictor. And for long periods of time, all of these for long periods of time, without any change or anything positive or reversing happening, then that is a strong show that if something doesn't change, somebody doesn't change their attitude, their mindset, you're going down fast. Avoidance of the future planning, where somebody, maybe you're dating somebody, or you've started seeing some, whatever the situation is, and maybe you're just in talks, a relationship, or just you got to the point where you like each other, you like some of the same things, or you like to have conversations or arguments or disagreements over certain things, and you've grown a fondness for one another, or whatever your situation has gotten onto. But when one of you tried to talk about a future together, say, we were talking about marriage, and for some reason the person doesn't really want to get into actual details, or you are committed and you are not betrothed, betrothed, you are engaged or whatever it is, but yet the person doesn't want to speak about a date. No date talk, no detailed talk. Maybe you said you always wanted to have kids, but anytime somebody starts to bring up the topic, they say it's not time and I don't want to talk about it, and I don't know why you keep bringing it up, and those types of things. And even though it might just be something else, but a lot of the time the reason is because they don't want to plan ahead with children, which are a lifelong commitment, if they don't plan on being around. and they don't want to get your hopes up or tie themselves or be seen as a person who got so entangled in every facet of life with you that any normal person would think that that was just the most logical step is marriage and all the other stuff, when maybe that person, or you're just thinking of cutting loose and getting out of there. A significance. Let's see. Oh yeah. Decrease. Yeah, decrease sounds weird. Decrease in physical intimacy. Obviously you start withholding, or they start withholding from you. Making excuses. I got a headache, I got a stomach ache, I got this, I got that, I'm too tired, I'm overworked, yada yada yada. And the thing is, obviously some of those things can happen. You can literally be overworked, or you could be totally sad because of a situation happened or the wrong time or whatever it is. But even with those situations, because a lot of those situations where you I know people who could be too tired to do and lift a finger, but when they're it has to do with intimacy with their partner, then there's a certain rush from another place that helps them handle that business or whatever the situation is. But the bottom line is, if even a lot of those so-called serious illnesses and bad timing in life and yada yada yada, emotional sad times and all those things keep happening over and over, and those are actually also reasons for you not to share with somebody who you're supposed to be sharing your very life with, who give your life for, who could then that's a strong shower when people start cutting that. It's sad if you were with somebody who was selfish in the first place, and the only time they really were into that is when but they don't really care about say satisfying in that way, or pleasing someone in that way honestly, even if they're not able to, but they don't even care about it, then yeah, that's for sure a big sign. And lastly, divergent life goals and values. So you were somebody, and maybe you were both in high school and you just wanted to trek around Europe when you graduate, and before you go to university, or maybe you want to go to university and trek around Europe, and say you get back and you have an epiphany that you want to open an art store, or no, a flower store, and this other person thought you were both going to become lawyers or something like that, or get some family business where you just open a chippy shop, or chippy shop, what's it called, a fish and chip shop, or a pizzeria, or all you care about is West Indian food, and this person, all they care about is making mac and cheese. And it's just a problem, and it's just like, you want to be over here, I want to be over here. I want to live a life of crime, and no, I want to go into clergy, and you're just going in opposite directions. And maybe not even just one, but maybe a real deal breaker, or just many things, just to figure out that you are just so different. Your values aren't the same, your goals aren't the same, and it goes all the way down. And those are definitely top predictions, I guess, or predictors that things aren't going in a good way. Anyhow, y'all, we're going to keep it short today. Thanks for coming out. This is the podcast called, it's not the podcast called, it's called You're Probably Right. And I am MCM. Take care, and hope to know that you've come back and listened again. Remember, there's many episodes out. This is, by the way, I've never done this before, right at the last. This is episode 164. I'm going strong to 2. All right, take care. Hey, come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 ducks. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.